Welcome to another podcast organized by Latvian Transatlantic Organization before the Riga conference due in October. And one of the things that will be discussed in the Riga conference will also be 3Cs initiative, which is a regional platform by 12 EU member states, located, as the name suggests, between the three seas, the Baltic Sea in the north, then Black and Adriatic seas in the south. And the platform is for fostering cooperation and investment in the region, Central and Eastern European region. My name is Gints Amoliņš, Latvian public broadcaster, international affairs editor, and I'm pleased to talk with Wojciech Przybylski today.
Hello, very good to be there.
Hello, Wojciech. Now, Wojciech is editor-in-chief at Visegrad Insight, which is a renowned Central European policy analysis and media platform. And this summer, Wojciech co-authored an extensive report about the 3Cs initiative. Its name is Towards 3Cs Initiative Civil Society Forum, with many experts involved there as well. But first I would like, before we dive into the report, I'd like to ask a bit about the 3Cs initiative. It's quite a new initiative comparatively. It's been around for a few years, since 2016, created or launched by Poland and the Polish president, along with a Croatian one. And it's informal gathering of these 12 member states. So what is it?
Yes, thank you. Again, very glad to be here on the podcast. And the 3Cs, the question about 3Cs is, of course, popping up every now and then, actually every year when there is a summit, there is a gathering of presidents, heads of states. By now, not only from the 12 countries that participate in the 3Cs initiative, but also leaders from the US. President Biden has been virtually attending the recent summit, addressing the participants in Sofia just over a month ago. We have seen also President of Germany, high-level representation also from other European countries, but also global participants. There were participants from Japan, from Korea. There is interest in the 3Cs region because it is offering, and its ambition is to present the region as an investment platform, as a source of win-win for investors and for the region, which is quickly growing. It's developing economically. It offers a lot of potential to grow further within the EU. At the same time, it highlights and it wants to address, on one side, legacy problems, on the other side, the problems resulting from the number of borders that is still an issue in Europe. And the 3Cs initiative region comprises of 12 states on a territory that for other parts of Europe may comprise just of a few countries. So the ambition of the 3Cs altogether is to, bring the union of the European Union and Europe closer by increasing connectivity in transportation, in gas interdependency, and in the digital investments related to the newest telecom technology.
Yeah, the 5G, namely. Now, does the 3Cs initiative work? I mean, it started off as political statements by the presidency, as a political backing from the governments and the presidents of the member countries of this initiative. It's gaining traction globally, as you said, by the US, by other parts of the world. There's investment fund created already. I understand there are already a couple of projects, at least, who have got the investment from this fund in the region. So does it work by now, would you say?
Well, it doesn't work in all dimensions that were hoped for yet. For instance, not all participating states are fully participating. For not all of them are on board of the investment fund. Czechia, Slovakia, Austria are still hesitating whether to put money and invest, join this investment fund, which has been created on the basis of public-private partnership. Another element is the question of the formula, how to ensure that the format is not becoming an over-bureaucratic structure. It is still a coalition of the willing, if you may, one of many in Central Europe, but that it actually delivers, it is efficient, so it needs some sort of a coordinated mechanism, and there is a deliberation about how it should be implemented. Then there is another element which is about competition between different regional formats. I don't think it's a problem of overlap, but still a lot of discussion needs to be devoted still to understanding, for instance, what's the difference between the Visegrad Group and the 3Cs initiative, where they overlap, which competences are there matching, which are competing, and there are other regional formats. So these are a couple of highlights. One of the biggest dilemma that we write about all this in scenarios of what would be the future of the 3Cs initiative in our report. And one of the big dilemmas is that in different countries of the region, there is a different level of understanding and sometimes different perspective on the 3Cs. Sometimes it's completely absent from the public discussion. So one of the biggest challenges to otherwise very promising idea of even increasing the lobbying potential of the region within European Union is to bring more attention and awareness and to bring a dialogue between not only business and politics, but also civil society influencers from think tanks, but also from the media, who could be involved in and understand why this is actually being so much why is it so interesting for external partners and why it is not a partisan initiative as it seemed to be at the very beginning, because at the very beginning we had Donald Trump supporting it, which was already controversial.
Yes, indeed, it was. And now I understand the new administration of Joe Biden is also has endorsed it. As you mentioned, he took part virtually in the summit, and Secretary of State Blinken has also endorsed it. So there's American backing. Now you mentioned, besides business and politics, that there should be more involvement of media and civil society, which could be a missing block for further development of the initiative. This is something that you kind of underline in your report of this summer, which basically says that to fully make use of these funds, the countries must safeguard the transparency of investment, and the civil society participation must be there in that governance. So is it missing now, the civil society involvement? Should it be there, and why should it be there?
For a number of reasons. Anyone investing in a long-term projects, especially infrastructure projects, understands the need for consultancy with the civil society, with the people whose lives and properties are on the way of any linear constructions going across any country. And we're talking here about roads, we're talking about energy structure. So obviously this is a dilemma. And so this is for the most basic reason. If we're talking about long-term investment, multi-million, multi-billion euro investment all across the region, we need to be serious about how the civil society will be involved in order to make these investments most successful. So that's number one. Second of all, there is a problem of partisanship that we mentioned at the very beginning. A 3Cs initiative is to be, applauded for the ambition, but it didn't start in the most favorable environment. In a way, it's been it's been initiated with a lot of controversy around it at the very beginning because of the narrative that was merged from Donald Trump, quite divisive language and so on. So today, there is a lot of work to be done if the platform is to be successful, and it's, with rotating governments, as any democracy have changing governments, you need to have a clear level of understanding and the continuous level of ambition towards this 3Cs initiative, especially that we put our own money on the table. And some foreign investors also require certain stability, so to say, for long-term investment. So we need to talk, and the best way to talk is to ensure that the media are not only presenting the reports and whatever, let's say, delivering the news, but they're sustainable, comfortable in the discussion on more long-term projects. So this is all about fighting disinformation, ensuring the media structures are intact and they are going to be safe and comfortable with our democracies. While at the same time we have issues with that. So in the report we also highlight the dilemmas and the problems around that. Just to name very shortly one more, corruption, of course. I mean, all the watchdogs, all the legal lawyers dealing with corruption and also green issues. These are elements that need to be thought of in order, to have a, in a way, social contract, right, with civil society and politicians to make this a continuously promising investment.
No, the 3Cs initiative looks very much for investments from outside of the region into the region, like from the US, Asia, wherever. So we talk about the long-term investments, and you mentioned the investors need to be sure about their long-term investments, about their durability, and also mentioned, well, that's where the civil society is important and the media is important. Now, if we talk about, Poland is, one could argue it's very much a driving force behind in this initiative. Is that true?
Well, you could say that, not only because of the political involvement of President Duda, but also because Polish National Bank, the Bank for Economic Development, which is it's a government-controlled bank, has issued over 750 million euro as a contribution to the investment fund. So this is really real money on the table, and all the nearly all participating state also put their significant contribution.
Now, this Poland is, the Polish government over the past few years, it has had its quarrels with the Brussels, say, about the media freedom and the rule of law, and most recently also actually with the United States regarding this the TV and the media law amendment proposals, and the US has expressed its dissatisfaction with that as well. Could that overshadow the 3Cs initiative in any way, or it's not so much of an issue in long-term prospects?
Well, let's cross this bridge when we get there. Currently, there is a very dangerous initiative, legislative initiative, put forward and voted in the first instance of the legislation process in the parliament, which is directly threatening the media that you mentioned, owned today by Discovery, soon to be part of the under control of the Warner Bros. Discovery after the marriage. And the political initiative from within the government, from within part of the government, as if disregards the prospects of the larger partnership in Central Europe and partnership with the US, and they went full frontal in order, to win political gain or to damage the institutions that are not under control of the PIS government. But at the same time, very interestingly, we heard several times already from President Duda, who is independently elected president, so coming from a popular vote even though he is part of the camp, his words saying that, in fact, he's going to, or signaling that he's going to veto such a law, so it's not going to take effect. The quarrel within the governing camp doesn't sound like very optimistic and doesn't help, definitely, but I would say it's far from getting over. And if I had a crystal ball, I would say this law is not going to be at the end enacted. But of course, Poland is losing important initiative points, and it's losing time where actually we could be moving forward. We could be moving on even with this administration. You have mentioned, of course, President Biden's administration, Secretary of State Blinken endorsing the initiative, but we should mention also that the Congress has a bipartisan support, and the 3Cs initiative is in the law of the United States, an important legislative package, element of the larger package to make our part of the world more resilient against authoritarian influences, specifically Chinese, but not also not to forget and to mention also Russian. So this is going to stay, and it's a window of opportunity for us. That's we also highlight in the report. The time and the clock is ticking, and we should do everything possible to use this opportunity and build a transatlantic bridge here.
Now, in the report, you lay out 4 possible scenarios for the development of the 3Cs initiative over the coming years. Now, I'm just going to ask a couple of questions about those. The first 2 scenarios, which I read there, I'm going to just put them in one block because they seem not too favorable for the initiative. So the one was that the countries will continue to engage, to talk, to do summits, but there would be, in terms of synchronizing, connecting the projects, there would be more to wish for. And the another one is Texas of Europe, which is a very catchy scenario by its name. So basically, that's going to be focused on each country individually to recover after the COVID crisis, and not so much of a perhaps coordinated effort. So are these realistic scenarios for?
We have developed the scenarios and the whole report based on a couple of months of research, but also workshops and discussions with policy experts, policy influencers from all countries of the 3Cs initiative. Of course, we haven't spoken with every of them, but in fact, we spoke with many during very difficult conditions, COVID times. Perhaps that's why it was also more feasible, because we were Zooming, we were using a lot of this interactive methods online, creative design thinking on, and collaborative interactive methods of developing common projects. So a lot of IT stuff involved in this, and the discussion brought us these conclusions as foresights. So these are not predictions; these are possibilities which are plausible, and we don't attribute some percentage points to how they will move on. Currently, it seems that, as you mentioned, Poland, this was the latest developments regarding the TV, the media, came after we released the report. But of course, we were thinking, there is a lost potential, and that the scenario we call Texas of Europe can manifest itself when we have a lot of economic power, economic agility in the region, but politically we are weakened by internal conflicts or these so-called illiberal trends that are not helping to attract foreign partners and our allies to get involved more. So as we speak, these scenarios seem to be quite realistic, can be even the starting ground, right? I mean, we can see the very beginnings of those happening on the ground. But I would turn attention towards those more promising and also their prospects of development. And it very much depends on the will and commitment of, as I mentioned, civil society also, but also opposition opposition parties as well, to understand that there is, there should be a consensus about some strategic foreign policy goals of the region.
Now, there's another possible scenario about getting the EU itself more involved into the Three Seas initiative. I understand there's some backing from Brussels as well as of now for the initiative. So it's called the European Union Macro Regional Strategy, which basically would mean it's kind of putting it under, getting more involved into the EU programs. So as that, you talked about overlapping as well and things like that. So that seems quite a practical way forward.
Yes, there is a political backing. We have seen previously from the Commission of Mr. Juncker, as he visited an earlier summit, pledging his support. We have heard words of endorsement from Germany. Walter Steinmeier, president of Germany, was present at a panel. He was discussing the Three Seas. We have seen Greece. Well, of course, if you look north-south, Greece isn't. Maybe Greece would make this a Four Seas initiative, but nevertheless, it's an essential component that completes the whole idea. And Greek official head of state was also present at the summit. So that is indeed showing that it's gaining tracking. Importantly and very interestingly, United Kingdom was also present. So after Brexit, UK is seeking how to re-engage with European initiatives, and 3SI, Three Seas initiative, was also very interesting from the point of view of London, how to re-engage with Europe and Central Europe in particular.
What about China and Russia? Does it have an interest in the Three Seas initiative for their own objectives?
Well, from that perspective, from the perspective of the global competition between autocracies, democracies, the revisionist powers, as we put in the European documents, and the US also defined those countries as revisionist powers in their strategic documents. They've been pretty active in the recent years. It is expected they will be active still, especially China with the Belt Road Initiative that wants to complete its connectivity to Europe. And of course, it needs to go through Central Europe to get the transport lines going between Europe and Beijing. So China is seeking to have influence. We have seen the 17+1 format, but unfortunately for China, and unfortunately for the region, it was unsuccessful, and I would say it's derailing. First of all, because no one knows what's the added value there. Its financial offer is less attractive than EU funds and EU money. It comes most likely with political price tag, which in many places in the world we've seen is not working so well for the actual economic and democratic developments. And we've seen countries signing off, like Lithuania very recently, saying, well, they don't need it because strategically the important alliances and investors are elsewhere.
No, all in all, it seems that there's potential for growth for the Three Seas initiative region for Central and Eastern Europe. It's also mentioned all around that it's actually one third of the territory of the EU, 1/4 of the population, but only 1/5 of the economy. So there is place for growth. And from your report, we understand that for improved functioning and for this growth, civil society needs to get involved more.
Well, we understand civil society not in its totality, but specifically those civil society organizations, formats that are complementary to the goals of the Three Seas initiative. And there's a lot around business. And sometimes this is socially driven businesses that contributes to the growth and contributes to the resilience and to the completion of the goal of whole united Europe. from the three Cs perspective. So civil society forum, cooperation between various forms of non-economic primarily or non-political primarily activity is essential for this format to be successful eventually.
Wojciech Przybylski, thank you much for your time for the discussion to look into the 3Cs initiative and its various aspects internally and globally as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.